Now in this clip I'm going to show you how we produce brown hair. Now we start off over this side, it's half of the picture. I've already placed in the colours I'm going to be using, and that is the ivory grey, which is a warm grey, and just a touch of white. Okay, so those are the colours I'm going to be using, and I start off with the ivory. What we're doing is putting really the highlights in. Okay, we don't have to be too fussy about this because we've got quite a lot of colours that are going to go on, so we just sort of get an idea. Now what we don't want to do is right on the outside, we want that to be dark to frame the hair. Now I've already done this section of the face so it shows the hair better. Now that's fine for the moment. We may put more on later, but I think that's all I want for the moment. It's the same here. I want really a darker hair to go around the face. And the next colour I'm going to be using is the grey. This is the warm grey. And the idea is to create a base where other colours go on. Now I'll be putting quite a lot of brown in the hair, but the danger of putting brown directly onto the picture is that it becomes too harsh. The grey warms everything up and makes it more subtle. You'll see that as we go on. There we go. Yeah. Okay, now on that very edge, I'll be putting a darker grey on that in a second or two. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to use a white. Now the reason I didn't put the white on first is because this is really only there to give the ivory just a little bit more of a chance of shining through. And you'll see that as we progress. We don't want too much white. As you see, I've only put it really here. Okay, that's great. Now that is really stage one. And what I'll do now is I will do this section again with the other colours, the next set of colours, and then you can see the direct comparison with the side I'm going to do. Now I've advanced it, but what I wanted to show you is how we shape the hair. This area here, I wanted this to be particularly interesting, and as it drops down you can see that I'm using the grey. This is a warm grey, mid-tone warm grey, and you can see how I'm going to work it. Even at this early stage, you really do get the feeling and the feel of the hair. Now, human hair is very, very fine, so what's almost impossible to do with artwork is to actually reproduce the actual width of the hair. That's not possible. So you have to make an impression, and the impression comes by working in your pencils in the way you see the hair lying. Now that's working out really nicely, and you can see that I've got design there coming up through here. And now let's just work on the other side of that, because that looks nicer than that side. Let's just work on the other side. I had to turn it round. Although you're getting an advantage because you're seeing it almost straight on, but it's easier for me to work like this. Now I will turn this round as I proceed, but here I just wanted to bring that coming out of there. And what we'll be doing is seeing some of the scalp through there eventually. And here, just I can't do the hair because what I would normally do on this, I won't be doing it in this case, but I would do a background. And of course if you rub a background in, you'd end up by rubbing all those hairs out. So, but as I'm not doing a background here, just the hair. Now I've got to turn it round because I need now to bring the design down, as I told you, the way I see the hair lying. Now, although I have got a reference picture that I've got vaguely an idea of what I want to do, 90% of this is going to be made up. You can't copy that easily. You can copy the overall design, but you can't really copy, just as you can't with animal hair. You have to let the pencil and your imagination and your experience do the job for you. Now, I'm spending a bit of time on this more perhaps than I will on other areas, because I want to show you how the design is created. And as I said to you before when I was doing this section, we want quite a strong dark edge, and it's going to be grey, so I'm turning it around as I go. Now you can see, I'm sure you can see the benefits of this. You've got it on a very peculiar angle, I know, but this is very important for me because it's the natural angle that my hand has for producing this effect. You can see lots of light still there, but you can't just, you've got to combine the light with the stronger colours. Now I've got an edge there that's almost hidden now. You see this dark line? That would definitely be hidden up. And then when we come down here, this will all be taken care of later on when we finish the hair. I think a little design going in there. Everything I do now at this stage is going to be followed with the stronger colours that I'm going to be using. Now, I've done that now. Now, what I'm going to do now is just go in. I don't want to do too much, because all the time you're doing this, you're compressing the paper and it's losing its grip. Subsequently, the darker pencils you're going to use won't have much of a chance to register, but you've got to have enough. But I'm using the side of the point of the pencil. You can see that actually on there. You see, I'm not digging in. I'm using the side of the point, which means the paper is not being crushed as much as it would do, and I use the point. Now let me turn that round and you can have a look at that. Now there we are. Now that gives you the design of the hair. Very attractive. Got a little whiff here, which we will enhance as time goes on. But I think that's really pretty. So there's our design. And the next stage is starting the browns. Now the colour I'm using now is brown ochre. And this is very compatible with the other colour, the warm grey that I've used. And what I'm doing now is just going over the whole thing. It can go over the light as well. And I'm just developing this because this is the trickiest bit. And once again, we follow the same idea that we created earlier. I'll bring in that whiff down there, and then it comes out from there. Now I won't do all of this because it will take too long, but as long as you get the idea, I'll leave that for the moment on the top, and I'll drop down to the fringe, because here again we'll be using the same colour. Now I am going to put a colour in the hair in a little while that is actually used as the main colour for the skin. And the idea of that is that we have a link between the two. And the colours at the moment would look a little foreign. It's very important to keep these lights there, because they are the highlights. And when that comes down to here, let me just show you this bit, and then I'll break off. I will advance it, but all I'll be doing is what you've seen me do here. And here we've got to be careful, and through there, and through there. So I've got a light area just here that I'm going to create. There we are. Now there's enough to show you how that is applied, and I'm going to be doing that all over. I'm using Faber-Castell pastel pencils for the work I'm doing here, and they have numbers on them, as you can see, and the numbers in order that I've used them is 103, 270, 101, 273, which is the warm grey, and 182. Or that's ivory, cool, warm grey. The reason we don't use cool greys, any of these, is because when you use the ochre it will turn it greeny, and we don't want that, so we use warm greys. So that's 270 is light warm grey, then you've got white, of course, that's mid warm grey, and that's brown ochre. Now the one I'm going to be using right now is 179, and that's Bista. I say that because if you're using another make, you'll be able to tie the numbers and the colours up better. So those are the colours and the numbers. And Bista is the colour that's going to sort of make the difference here. It's going to start turning things brown. So I'm coming very close because I want you to see how I apply this and how it goes on a little closer, and then we'll move back to a wider angle. Now, one of the other dangers is when you're doing any pastel pencil work is you try to make it too dark, too quick. In other words, what you'll be doing is thinking that's not dark enough, and the danger is you want to press harder. Now that's the mistake, because you start to crush the paper. What you do is you get a darker colour, which I shall be using some very dark colours in here, and you let them do the work. So what we're doing at the moment is just adding tone. Okay, now I'm just going to get so far down here, now I'm going to do something a little bit different. Get down to about there, so you can see how this is going to work out. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm using a colour shaper. Now you see, can you see the texture in the paper? Well, we really want to lose some of that, so you can use the colour shaper and use it really a bit like another pencil. But what you're doing, of course, is you're blending it. Now, although this will look smudgy to you at the moment, remember we're using darker colours, and those darker colours will work really well on top of it. And when I pull back on this, you'll see why I've done this. And it's a good idea to do it like this rather than just smudge it in. Use it so that you get a more natural looking effect. You see, now let me just do another thing for you. If I come from here, for instance, now we're coming with our little quiff that comes around there, and coming from underneath there. We do the same thing again. Once again, the same action that I've taken with the pencils, we take with the colour shaper. So all the time you're developing the design. I hope you understand that. Now, I'm sure there's other ways of doing it, but this is my way. Okay. Ah, there we are. Now, let's have a look at that from a distance, and I'll continue it some way down. There we are. Now, I'm going to work down here now, and using the same strokes, still using the side of the point of the pencil, because what we don't want to do, as I've explained earlier, we don't want to crush it. It's a long old job, and you really, when you're doing something like this, you must take your time, and I'm going to do exactly the same. In other words, if I did the whole thing, it would bore you to tears. It won't bore you when you're doing it, but when you're watching it, it's the same thing over and over again. So therefore, for fear of losing you, I'm just going to do this bit here for you, because that's another really important part where the skin and the hair meet, and I'll show you something spectacular later on there. That's why I've done the skin. If I did just the hair, it would look a little weird when I wouldn't be able to do that for you. Okay, let's just, now using the blender, in the same way I showed you before. But of course, because you're looking at this from a little way away now, it's looking, I think, better than it was before. Close-up was good because it showed you and it gave you a clearer picture of the design and how I was operating the pencil, but this really gives you a much better picture of how the overall design is coming along. And I think you'll agree already, isn't it looking stunning? And we haven't got the darks in yet, but it's really beginning. And what you're looking at now, let's just analyse it before I move on. What you're looking at now is all the different tones. Look at those different tones we've got already in the hair. Now, as we bring the darker colours into this, those tones will still be there. You'll see them coming through. So therefore, as a normal hair would be, you'd have lots and lots of lights and darks and lights and darks and shines and so on. Okay, so now I will continue that now all the way, and you can have a look at her when she's done. Now I'm now using the 177, which is walnut brown, and you can see the difference it's made already. I'm protecting my picture because I'm going to have to put my hand all over it, and I'll ruin the picture underneath if I don't do that. So what I'm doing is I'm using the side of the point of the pencil. The other thing I've done, and I'll continue with, I'm mindful of the way the hair there is sitting at the crown and coming away from there. So that will be something I should have also coming from here as well. So because it's darker, a darker colour, it's easier now for me to separate the colours. Now, although it's not possible not to go over any of the light areas, I want to leave as many of the light areas as I can. So I come down here, and it gets easier as we come down at the edge of the hair. I did say I wanted that to be dark, and I do. So that's like that, and then we come in. Now this has been smoothed with the colour shaper blender underneath there. Let me do a little bit more, and then I'll pull back and you can have a look and see how it's looking now. Here we have this separation business again coming from here, so we carry on as intended. I'm using the side of the point of the pencil rather than the point, because I certainly don't want to start digging in now. If I do, I will start losing it, but you can see how it's working. Lovely. I think I've probably done enough now, because the rest of the hair will be done in the same way. Now here you see I'm making it a little darker in places. You can go back over that and just darken sections of the hair like that. Looks nice. Now when you come down to the bottom of the hair, down here, let me just do this section for you, because this is the hair I've just redesigned. We bring that down, and you can come in. Don't go too far over the skin tones, but you see how that now works out. Because it's darker, we're getting more of contrast, so we're able to fashion the hair better. Now the reason I've done that like this and angle like this, because this is almost horizontal to me, it gives me an opportunity to just create some quite spectacular effects. You'll see that when I pull back the other way. Sometimes a better idea to bring the picture at an angle. And there, I want that to be darker. So we come in darker there. Okay, that would follow the same formula, but let me just pull back now and You see how nice that is? Now that really is spectacular, isn't it? The way that I've got that coming round. And now I can enhance that a little bit more with just using, again, look at the way I'm holding the pencil. In here I want it to be fairly dark. You've got, once again, I told you, didn't I, earlier, that what we've got to be careful of when we do this is that we don't press too hard, because obviously I want that to be dark in there, but if I press hard I'm going to start crushing the paper. Now let me just bring that down from here. I switch to the side of the pencil as quickly as I can, because I know that when using the point you do crush, but you can see how important it is. Let me come down a little bit further down there. In fact, I'll come right to the bottom. There will be another stage. I've already done the eyes on one clip, and I'll be doing the nose and the lips on another clip later on. So I will actually complete this picture, or all the facial details anyway, of the picture at a later date. There we are now. Isn't that stunning? Doesn't that look nice? On the other side, I'm turning it round again. You see, now this is, I'm facing this way, okay? It's really important because I don't want to, it's the angle of my hand anyway I need, but really I want to frame that face. At the moment, what will happen when I turn it round, the hair will look as though it's a wig. Now the reason it does that is there's no shadows here, there's no natural shadows that are there, and they're all going to be put in when I finish the hair itself. You see how easy this is becoming now? Now I'm fooling you into when I say that, because hair is not easy, and I'm hoping that with a little bit of practice following these techniques you'll be able to do it too. And there we are, we have the edge. Now, let's have a look at that. That's looking great. Got to fill it in, but you can see how it's all working out. So let me just complete that, and then we'll go to another colour. Yet more colours, folks.